North-South University that we thought, as part of our mission and vision that has been set out very clearly to create responsible, socially engaged, ethical students to go out into the workforce, we started asking ourselves, isn't it time that North-South University started a Center for Peace Studies? And with that, Mr. Shovik Das and I were quite on the same page. And we could think of all of the issues and all the areas where conflict and peace resolution could be done. So, we consider this the very first large event for our proposed Center for Peace Studies at North-South University that we hope will be located under the South Asian Institute for Policy and Governance, and we invite all of you to be part of this effort to create the opportunity for peace education, which under the Sustainable Development Goals number 4, specifically 4.7, which is to teach and give people the skills for sustainable development, for peace, for global citizenship education. And I think we're very well poised with this enormous event to launch such a center at North-South University. So with that, I'm going to ask our Vice Chancellor to please, I'm going to ask our convener of the conference, Professor Tolfi Kok, to come up to the microphone. And he's been our advisor, guided us all along the way, and I'm going to let him introduce our guests of honor, and I will be back later. Thank you very much for your attention.
Distinguished chairperson of today's inaugural session, Professor Islam, Honorable Chief Guest of the Inaugural Program, Mr. H.T. Imam, Political Advisor to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Honorable Special Guest, Dr. Muhammad Inamur Rahman MP, State Minister for Disaster Management and Relief, Government of Bangladesh, and Special Guest, Mr. Alistair Bolton, Regional Representative of UNHCR, or another very own special guest, Mr. Benazir Ahmed, Chairman, Board of Trustees of North-South University, respected keynote speaker, Honorable former Minister of Malaysia for Foreign and Home Affairs, Dr. Tan Sri Datuk Seri Soed Hamid Albar, respected deans, faculty members, paper presenters, chairs and discussants of the different parallel sessions and other participants. Also dear students, Assalamu alaikum, very good morning to you all. So this conference, just before we invite our guests to come to the podium, I just want to give a background and also some basic information of the conference. So this conference was planned 7 months ago, as Dr. Katrin was saying, because this influx of large number of Rohingya into Bangladesh over the last few years has become a critical concern for both host and international communities. Many of the incidents of forced displacement and migration remain underexplored and under study, leaving sustainable solutions to those issues still a little bit far away from us. So these multifarious issues associated with Rohingya influx into Bangladesh include social, cultural, political, legal, health and environmental, which require a comprehensive understanding to develop a durable solution for overcoming the crisis. So it was obviously a shock and surprise for Bangladesh when it came 2 years back, and we didn't expect that things coming. But Bangladesh did a wonderful job in terms of managing this man-made disaster. So our State Minister of Disaster Management is here and government advisor is here. Government must take some credit for it. We are always good at disaster management. Historically, Bangladesh did well when it comes to flood, when it comes to cyclone, when it comes to any other kind of natural disaster. But we have proven that we are very good at managing even man-made disasters like this size and also intensity. But then the question is, after 2 years of this crisis, how do we proceed with this crisis? What is the solution? And we need to revisit, that's why, and analyze the issues related to it for finding a solution. And we cannot wait anymore. And also, cannot continue with these uncertainties. So this conference is specifically very important at this point of the time, because now we are really looking for all the development partners, our friends in the neighboring countries. Everyone is now, they can realize that this burden cannot be carried out by Bangladesh alone for a longer period of the time. So under this backdrop, Department of Political Science and Sociology and the South Asian Institute of Policy and Governance of NSU have organized this conference in collaboration with UNHCR. As chair of the PSS Department and Director of SIPG, let me give a very brief description about these two main departments who have organized this one. So PSS is one of the most research active departments of NSU. We have a very vibrant active research active faculty members who are working here, and some of them already engaged with the Rohingya research in different areas like health or socio-cultural aspects or geopolitics. The South Asian Institute of Policy Governance is one and only and pioneering institute in Bangladesh in the field of public policy and governance with a regional focus. The institute facilitates academic programs, South Asian regional research on policy regimes, governance challenges and discourses to generate knowledge for Bangladesh and regional countries at policy stage. The SIPG has been offering a unique international master's program, which is called Masters in Public Policy and Governance, exclusively designed for the public sector officials from Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Bhutan over the last 1 decade. The graduate program aims to producing a competent, qualified and responsive workforce to identify, diagnose and address governance challenges in South Asia. I am happy to see that even two of our alumni who are very closely working with Honorable Advisor to Prime Minister and also Honorable State Minister. This is the third international conference of SIPG and also one of the largest one for the university. We have received overwhelming response from home and abroad surrounding the international conference. 240 abstracts have been submitted and 175 abstracts were accepted through a rigorous peer review process. These 175 papers will be presented in 37 parallel sessions under 11 themes, which are peace building and conflict resolution, national and regional security, forced displacements and human rights, socio-cultural problems and dimensions, economic impacts, physical and mental health issues, environmental impacts and remedy, legal issues, Rohingya language, literature and culture, Rohingya identity and historical perspective, gender and vulnerability. Paper presenters and participants of this international conference have been representing from 20 different countries. Let me now talk a little bit about some academic logistical issues related to this conference. The overall structure of the conference for the next 2 days has been designed in the following manner. We will start the parallel sessions immediate after completing this inauguration, and we have invited also 74 distinguished chairs and discussants of these 37 parallel sessions from academics, researchers, diplomats and government policymakers, security experts and development partners. On the first of the conference, we also have two important events. One is policy colloquium and one is plenary. The main theme of the policy colloquium is finding out a durable solution from the perspective of public policy makers and development partners and regional experts. The theme of the plenary is voices from the field. On the second of the conference, we will continue with the parallel sessions until the closing ceremony, and we hope to present a conference summary which we would expect that will bring some practical and innovative solutions for this crisis in presence of the Foreign Minister of Bangladesh. As outputs of this conference, we are organizing or going to publish 2 policy briefs on the basis of the findings and recommendations derived from different papers. Some selected papers of the conference will be published in the special issue of a reputed journal titled International Journal of World Peace by Paragon House Publishing Company of USA. We also reached to an agreement to have an edited book based on selected papers to be published by Calvert Macmillan. I am going to end this brief description of the conference with the belief that this 2-day conference will be no different than the previous ones in terms of quality and lively discussion and debates, and will also prove to be a success in terms of publishing policy briefs, edited book and scientific journal articles at the impact factor journals as a main product of it. which will also eventually help the policymakers of Bangladesh to find out quickly the sustainable solution of this country before it becomes a South Asian version of Palestine. So we just, I think, and conclude with this note, we need to work very quickly, we need to think and find out the solution very quickly before this crisis becomes a South Asian version of Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you for President. What I'd like to do now is invite our honorable guests up to the podium, up to the dais. We have with us our chief guest, Mr. H.T. Imam, political advisor to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. We have our keynote speaker, Dr. Tanshri Dr. Habib Abdel, former Minister for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Home Affairs, Defense and Justice, Government of Malaysia. Our special guest, Dr. Mohammed Enamur Rahman, MP, State Minister for Disaster Management and Relief. Mr. Alistair Bolton, Assistant Regional Representative, UNHCR. Mr. Benazir Ahmed, Chairman, Board of Trustees, North-South University. And our session chair, Professor Atikul Islam, Vice Chancellor, North-South University. Mr. Kashyap, would you please join us on stage? Thank you very much, and welcome to North-South University. Delighted to have you with us. To begin the program, I would like to invite our special guest, Mr. Alistair Bolton, Assistant Regional Representative, UNHCR. Mr. Bolton, prior to his current assignment, worked as coordinator of the Human Rights in the Executive Office of the Secretary General in New York. Mr. Bolton, let's give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much. It's a very distinct pleasure to be here and to be representing UNHCR at this event, which we are co-sponsoring together with North-South University. It's rare for us in the intergovernmental organization world to be among so many academics, so many esteemed academics. So I thought I'd start off with a reflection based on a recent book by an academic friend of mine, Jennifer Welch, who wrote in 2016 a book called The Return of History. And it basically posited that we were in far from what Francis Fukuyama had suggested back in 1999, that history was ending, and we were all going to embrace liberal democracy, and really it was just a technocratic exercise going forward, that events had belied that prediction, and that what we were seeing was in fact a very vigorous return of history, through, for example, the return of barbarism, through the magnification of inequality, through the return of the Cold War, and most importantly for us, through the return of mass displacement. And I remember being at a geopolitical forum in Jakarta in 2016 and thinking and presenting that the exception to this return of history, including mass displacement, was this region, Southeast Asia, which hadn't had a mass displacement in 30 years, right? It had had it back in the Indo-China days, but it seemed to be bucking the trend. Well, that changed very, very shortly after that forum. And in October 2016, we saw what in retrospect looks like a trial run in northern Rakhine State, leading to displacement into Bangladesh, getting to Bangladesh in November, December 2016. And we saw basically in microcosm what was going to come 8 months later. And did it ever come 8 months later? In August 2017, we've had perhaps 700,000 Rohingya displaced from northern Rakhine State into Bangladesh in a very short period of time. Interestingly, back in September 2016, in New York, all the countries were meeting, prompted by not the then coming Rohingya crisis, obviously, but by the crisis in the Mediterranean and the massive displacement of Syrians who were coming in large numbers from Turkey to Greece and then up through Europe. There was unprecedented attention to migration, including mixed migration, right? So migrants and refugees moving together. And there was the will to do something about it, and the governments came together in September 2016 at the UN. There was the New York Declaration, which called for the creation of 2 global compacts, and we have those now. They were both adopted in December 2018. The Global Compact on Migration, Safe, Orderly Migration, and the Global Compact on Refugees. The Global Compact on Refugees has 4 objectives, and they couldn't be more germane than they are to the situation in Bangladesh. The objectives are, fundamentally, what that compact is about is helping host states cope with large arrivals of refugees. And that's what we have in Bangladesh. So the objectives are to ease the pressure on the host state, right? How do we help Bangladesh? To improve conditions in the countries of origin. Well, that's exactly it. That's our challenge here and in this conference. And with respect to the situation, how do we change? How do we help Myanmar change the situation in northern Rakhine State, addressing the root causes so that the refugees can return, with their rights respected, so that they can not only return, but stay returned. The third objective is to increase access to third country solutions, so both through resettlement and things like resettlement, family reunification, or labor schemes. And the fourth objective is enhancing self-reliance. So the objectives of the Global Compact on Refugees, as I say, couldn't be more germane than to this conference. When you look at the title, the challenge and sustainable solutions, right? That is exactly what the Global Compact on Refugees is trying to achieve. So it is an honor to partner with North-South University in Quebec. I would like first to acknowledge and thank Dr. Catherine Lee for spearheading this initiative. I would like to thank all of the individuals here on the panel with me, Professor Islam and Special Advisor Imam, Dr. Rama. And I would like to pay tribute as well to the keynote speaker, from whom we'll hear shortly, Dr. Chancellor Syed Hamid Albar, because Malaysia has a role, and indeed all the countries of goodwill in the region and the regional organizations have a role to play. So that's the Bali process, that's ASEAN. We need to see them step up. We know what the primary solution is, it's voluntary return. That is primarily in the hands of Myanmar to create conditions for sustainable return. They know what to do. It's being recommended through the Rakhine Advisory Commission. It's really the subject of the Memorandum of Understanding between UNHCR and UNDP and the government of Myanmar. What needs to happen is implementation. They need to give access to humanitarian organizations, and there needs to be a genuine effort to change what had become systemic discrimination against the Rohingya people. They need to respect their own bilateral undertakings. And if they had, what Bangladesh and Myanmar foresaw when they signed the agreement was all the Rohingya back by the end of this year. That was a break that logjam. Additional and new ideas, particularly from civil society, will help. So I am deeply, deeply grateful to be here. You and are very much committed to this event and this initiative. And we're very, very grateful to all of the presenters and all of you for coming. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next, I would like to ask Mr. Benajir Ahmed, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of North-South University, to come up to the podium. Mr. Benajir Ahmed is a successful and visionary business personality of Bangladesh. Mr. Ahmed served as President, Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Please give him a warm welcome.
Good morning to everybody. On behalf of the North-South University, I'd like to welcome you all to today's International Conference on Rohingya Conference of Crisis in Bangladesh. Its solution and remedies. Distinguished Chairperson, Professor Abdul Islam, Vice Chancellor of North-South University, Honorable Chief Guest, the inaugural program, Mr. H.D. Imam, Political Advisor to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Honorable Special Guest, State Minister for Disasters Management, Minister for Disasters Management and Relief, Government of Bangladesh, Dr. Mahmoud Enamur Rahman. Special guest, Mr. Alistair Bolton, Assistant Regional Representative of UNHCR, our Honorable Trustee Member, respected keynote speaker, Honorable former Minister of Malaysia, Minister of Foreign, Home Affairs and Justice, Dr. Tan Sri Dr. Sri Syed Hamid Al-Bad. Excellencies, Honorable distinguished guests, faculty members, and my dear students, Assalamu alaikum. North-South University, with the collaboration of UNHCR, organizing this international conference, today's on the Rohingya crisis in Bangladesh. Today, our keynote speaker will present his valuable speech, but what I want to say, I was the encourage of our Honorable Prime Minister to UN General Assembly last 2 years. Every time she presented this problem to the international arena, what we see, we don't find any concrete, any solution yet. But the international bodies, when they understand that 1 million people of Rohingya, they are in Bangladesh. But what will be the ultimate situation? I think this is the time the world must think about it and give the solution so that we can overcome this situation. I believe today our different discussions and the keynote speakers' papers, they have some direction and that will help us to resolve this situation. I want to thank the Honorable keynote speaker for his valuable presentation and the discussion for their participation and all the participants giving their feedback. I once again also want to offer our heartiest thanks and gratitude to our Honorable Chief Guest and special guest for their kind presence on these very important issues. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, I am very honored to invite our keynote speaker to the dais, Dr. Tan Sri Syed Hamid Al-Bad, who was a senior Malaysian government minister in the 1990s and 2000. He was the Minister for Home Affairs, Ministry for Foreign Affairs, Minister for Defense, and Minister for Justice. Will we please give them a very warm welcome? Sure, let's come to the podium, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. Let me begin by saying His Excellency, the Chief Guest, Excellencies, the Special Advisor, the Prime Minister, the representative of the NHCR, and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Vice Chancellor of the University, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by thanking, first of all, the organizers of this conference for inviting the North-South University to deliver a keynote address at this important gathering of what I see as prominent academicians and officials. It is for me an honor and privilege to be invited here, so thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, my content of my speech I have circulated under an executive summary, but I will touch on some of the issues that I think is of importance. So, actually all this while, what we have done, the issue of the Rohingya are not new. The discussion of the Rohingya issue is also not new. It has been going on and on for a long time. In fact, some say that has been for decades. We have always been discussing the symptoms, but we have not looked at the root causes, and we have never found a problem. So I congratulate the North-South University for now organizing a conference on challenges and sustainable solutions, because the crisis has become a very big humanitarian crisis. But I think it is bigger than the humanitarian crisis. There is a crisis that involves issues of geopolitics, issues of security that all of us must be concerned with, or will be landed without a solution. So, the issue of Rohingya and Rakhine has become, in my view, very difficult and complex. First time I went to Myanmar, I find it always difficult because the Myanmaris are very nice people, very soft-spoken, very accommodating. So I went when I was the Minister of Defense. Amidst all the difficulties that the population faced, but the armed forces were the best treated. They have all the best things, the best, anything that is best is with the armed forces. So I was quite comfortable, I was well treated as Minister of Defense. I was accompanied everywhere, more to see where I want to go than maybe to exchange views. Then we also discussed an important issue that to ASEAN, because ASEAN, Malaysia, why Malaysia pays particular attention to Myanmar, because Malaysia is one of the proponents of constructive engagement with Myanmar. When we formed ASEAN in 1967, 5 of us, then we see ASEAN will never be complete without having the whole of South Asia, 10 member countries. Then Malaysia, after Cambodia, Laos, Brunei, Vietnam, we must have Myanmar. But this was against the criticism of the international community. The international community felt that Malaysia is a radical. We were asking for a country that is based on military junta, no democracy, no human rights, and yet we ask Myanmar to be part of it. The simple reason for this welcoming approach was because we thought ASEAN would be the best place for Myanmar to get used to the process of democratization, that it will change over time. I think it did change. I remember speaking to Tamil Shui when they were interested to see how to change, and at the same time, the military still had got power over it. I said the best way is to take the Indonesian model, but you become civilian and then you get to be involved in engagement. And I think they did, but they didn't change like Indonesia. They become more entrenched as democracy was practiced in Myanmar. They no longer can hide under their own, what they want to do in their own state, or how they deal with their population. So ladies and gentlemen, with that kind of background, I was then appointed as a special envoy of the OIC to Myanmar. As a special envoy to OIC, the first thing that Myanmar side mentioned to me, we accepted you to come and engage with us, not because of OIC, but because you were former foreign minister of Malaysia and coming from ASEAN. So coming from ASEAN, we thought you are a friend of Myanmar. I said, yes, I am your friend, but also interested to find a solution. Even though I'm a friend, I'm interested to find a solution. How can we help you to find a solution? OIC is never against Myanmar. OIC wants to be able to take part in the engagement and dialogue of finding a solution. So that's how we started. So, and I think when we talk about Rohingya crisis, Myanmar, please always bear in mind, in my view, this is the only state in the world where the union was established based on ethnicity. It was supposed to be state, autonomous state, but ultimately they become provinces of the central government. So that started with all the problems. So you see, all minorities feel uncomfortable with their position. But here we are dealing with the issue of the Rakhine state. The stakeholders in this is ASEAN, OIC, UN, and members of the international community. I think it's members of the international community, I think this is the only situation where every one of us know the problem. Myanmar knows the problem. We have addressed the problem. We have identified the problem. The only case is if you are doing a PhD or you are doing a master's, you have enough citation and empirical evidence of the wrongs and offenses that have been committed. And yet, we could not do anything. Why? Because many countries, I personally, I think this is maybe because I'm outside the government now, I think the international system has failed. The international system is not responsive enough to take action when it knows the breaches that have been committed. It cannot move. So that's why when we see, we should thank Bangladesh. At a time that we have about 62 million, I think, migrants now, with 23 million refugees. I think the migrants is correct, I am mistaken from the... Countries are becoming more afraid of taking refugees. But Bangladesh was good enough to be generous in accepting the Rohingya refugees. So I think it is, insofar as ASEAN is concerned, I think I am very clear. I feel that ASEAN, when we were formed, we have what we call non-interference policy. What we have called is respect for equality of sovereignty. These two issues become and made the crisis something that we cannot discuss, we know we cannot discuss, and we cannot even mention. Not only in a meeting, when we have bilaterals with Myanmar, or Myanmar will be upset. I think our brother from the UNHCR knows that even the word Rohingya is not acceptable. You cannot mention. And the international community accepted that. And if you see the Annan Commission report, there are a lot of good things in Annan Commission report. We have many things that can be used, but both sides are not happy with it. The Rohingya are not happy, the Rakhine is not happy, except for Aung San Suu Kyi, she's quite happy. She said it's a good report. But I think since she said it's a good report, it's a credible report, I hope that she will not only use her words, but she will translate it into action. Then there will be a difference. So I think in this particular case, I am by training, I'm an advocate. I'm a solicitor. If you have got empirical evidence and the evidence are clear enough, then you must bring the perpetrators of the offenses of crime to justice. In the case of Myanmar, we are not able to do that because Myanmar plainly, and there is no international system that can discipline Myanmar to say you must comply with the evidence that shows that you have done something wrong. So as a result of that, the UN is landed with a problem that is, they admitted it is there. There is crime against humanity, there is ethnic cleansing, there is genocide, you name it, it is there. But I think it will not be good enough for us just to talk about the problems, because the problems are there. Bangladesh has got 1.2 million people in a small place with all kinds of issues that they need to tackle. But Bangladesh has got its own problem, but it cannot tackle this dimension of the problem. So I like to make the following in order to, because the whole of my speech is in somewhere else in the executive summary. I would like that for us to need the answers to the following. We need answers and solutions to the following. First of all, there must be a total acceptance to the identity of the Rohingya. We cannot hide under any Muslim Rakhine, Muslim Myanmar Muslim. And I have seen, my friend, when I go to Benin, they have a citizenship, but it is put there Bengali. Otherwise, you will not get your citizenship. So, Bangladesh say they are not Bengalis. They are citizens of Myanmar. There is one. The second part of it is about time that we settle the legal status. This is a population that participated in election, that were part of the citizens of Myanmar. Suddenly in 1982, when the citizenship law was passed, they become stateless. It's not a question of they chose to be stateless. They become stateless and they have no documents. Whatever document, whether it is the white card and VC now, I'm actually worried whether this agreement that has been signed between Bangladesh and Myanmar is going to honor it. Because NVC or the white card was a process for them to deny citizenship, to deny relationship of the Rohingya to Rakhine or to Myanmar. So that is the second one. Then I think it's about time that we should talk about the cause of the flight of Rohingya from Myanmar. Because Myanmar's narration, we have to change the narration. It cannot be Myanmar's narration. It has to be our narration, the international community narration. Myanmar's narration is these things have never happened. There is no genocide, there is no crimes, there is no burning of the villages, there is nothing. So we have to change this narration by making the issue be portrayed or projected in a very big way. And then, of course, all of us, the reason the reason for the recent exodus. I really consider, based on my own experience, that terrorism actually can be committed by state as well as non-state actors. What they have done is that they have committed state terrorism. If there is ARSA, which I cannot deny, there may be. But have you seen the amount of guns and weapons that they have? They have not shown to the public to convince that this is a real threat. I'm talking about security threat, real threat to the safety and security of Myanmar. We have not seen that. But we have seen, because of the cleaning up operation, that the ones that got killed, not the ARSA, are the civilian population. What has it got to do with terrorism? This excuse of terrorism as a way of state intervention in order to use disproportionate force is not acceptable. Unfortunately I think ASEAN has to start mentioning it. ASEAN has to start putting it in its agenda. Recent meeting of ASEAN in Bangkok, also there was no specific mention. And I think the solution is in ASEAN, and ASEAN should work with Bangladesh to help them. And then you have to look at the places they are migrating. If these people just migrate on their own, I don't think they want to be in Bangladesh. They want to be in their own homes and villages. So I think we need to address the places they are migrating to. How the worst part that has not been done. I met the Minister of Religious Affairs of Myanmar and discussed with him. I said, you have to stop people campaigning hate, the monks, Wiratu, Mabata, all these things has to be stopped. We are living in a world, ASEAN is, we have got Theravada Buddhists in ASEAN, Myanmar, Thailand, 4 countries. Not Myanmar, Thailand, there are 4 countries anyway. I put the name of countries. But we also have got Muslim and Buddhists are all equally divided between Myanmar and the biggest Muslim population is not in Bangladesh. The biggest Muslim population is not in Saudi Arabia. The biggest Muslim population is not in Egypt. The biggest Muslim population is in Indonesia. And there is in ASEAN. And we have got Muslim in ASEAN, Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, Southern Thailand, Southern Philippines. These are not foreigners. If, say for example, we say this is internal affairs, there is no overflow. If we allow them to stay in Bangladesh and accept as in situ situation on the ground, we cannot do anything, then this will be a precedent for allowing states to force their people to leave the country if they do not like that particular group or that particular religion or that particular culture. So under no circumstances can this be taken lightly in our way to find a solution. So, and I think I'm one of the persons who is very disappointed with Aung San Suu Kyi, but I'm not going to condemn her, because when I met military to treat her better, to allow her the space, because she was elected and chosen, and yet now she has, because of what we have done in ASEAN, I think she got the Human Rights Nobel Prize. Now she says, I am a politician first. So how are you going to find a solution? So I hope she will open her heart. She will find a space in her heart. That human beings, we have got commonality. I was surprised because I've never known Buddhism as a very aggressive or violent religion. I've known it as a very passive, people-loving, tolerance, moderation, something like Islam, moderation. And yet, this is what has happened in Myanmar, I think, is treating fellow human being not as human being. That is the thing that I think when we want to address a sustainable solution, that is the thing that we need to address. The region has not responded well, I think, because of the fear of Myanmar leaving ASEAN. Maybe, I do not know. I don't represent, our High Commissioner is here, I don't represent the government, I represent my own view. I have got, when I was in the government, I was very careful what I'm going to say, but here also I'm still careful because I love ASEAN, I love my brothers in Bangladesh. We want to find a solution. So I think the region has not responded that well. OIC has responded better, even though people have made sarcastic remarks about OIC. It was the OIC that brought it up to the Human Rights Council. It was the OIC that engaged the individual countries of OIC, UNHCR. It was the OIC that brought it to the Security Council. It was the OIC that does the General Assembly resolution. And now it is the OIC again that has brought the case to the ICJ. So I think maybe we should place it properly. So I think the international community must change also. International community must change. So my final recommendation before I sit down, I still have time. You see that I am not a very structured person. I've just gone all over the place. My recommendation is that because the theme of our conference is to challenges and sustainable solutions. The challenges cannot be addressed unless we call a spade a spade. We cannot just be addressing something that is not serious, or this is a humanitarian disaster. No. These are killing in the worst form of killing known to the history of mankind. So the first one is, I hope that we can evaluate the Rohingya crisis not only from the humanitarian perspective, which is important, but also, you see, because if we don't have China, we don't have India, we don't have USA, you want to bring the R2P? You cannot bring R2P without the Security Council approval. If you want to bring the case to ICC, of course ICC say they want to proceed with investigation, but Myanmar is not a signatory to the Rome Statute. So, what do we do? So now I was told anyway, Gambia is interested to bring, because it's a signatory and they can bring. But it will still be not possible because it will be stuck with the Security Council. And China has made it very clear that if it is brought as a matter of Security Council, it will not. So we need the US, we need China, we need India, and maybe Russia also to speak. Because, so now, this is what my contention is. My recommendation is, please also address the geopolitical and strategic dimensions. It's just not simply Rakhine, but the geography of Rakhine, the mineral and resources of Rakhine. Then we'll be able to address the issue better. Secondly is that, just now as mentioned, to consider not simply meeting the decision, to consider strategically the role of the major world powers as well as the regional powers, particularly the role of, I mentioned just now, China, USA, India, Pakistan, and most importantly now, in all discussions they must bring in Bangladesh. So in this particular case, I believe that there should be a joint working group with high-level strategic experts, professionals and officials who have good access and influence to negotiate with Myanmar and to see what China can do. ASEAN, I think, when we form ASEAN, interestingly enough, when we form ASEAN, we say that we form ASEAN for peace, prosperity, economic development, growth. So we do not want ASEAN to be a theatre of big power rivalry. Now it has become a theatre of big power rivalry. Because we are living in a world of turmoil. So then another thing that I think after the Anand Commission report, because this one, Aung San Suu Kyi comment quite a lot. I think my fourth recommendation is that we should focus and explore the Annan Commission report. And then maybe the fifth one, to form a special UN OIC ASEAN EU to follow up upon current development, and especially to see the implementation of the UN special reports. UN have done tremendous report and a very good report. And then I think we need to form a regional civil society support group for Rohingya crisis, based maybe in Dhaka, KL, Jakarta. Malaysia has played a role from the beginning. And then another issue that I consider as important, to examine the current negative impact, future danger, challenges of security risks in the ASEAN region, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei. They have to work out a preventive measure program. Refugees International, I think there must be something done against crimes against humanity. There must be the persecution of Rohingya in Myanmar must stop. If you want to repatriate, you ask the Rohingya in Cox's Bazar or the diaspora, none of them want to go back because they are not so sure whether they are going back. And if you look at the 45 rights report, the latest report of 45 rights, it mentioned that the center for the registration is just like a prison camp. I went to Sitwe, 120,000 people living in deplorable conditions. So that is another issue that we need to address. So Rohingya in Bangladesh must be protected. Repatriation to me is deemed, at present is still deemed and unsafe. To be sustainable, this must be done with safety, guarantee of well-being and under the protection of the United Nations or ASEAN, because Myanmar have said that ASEAN can play a role at the last Bangkok meeting under AHA. That AHA is a mechanism that we established for the purpose of tackling humanitarian disaster. So if this is considered as a humanitarian disaster, so be it, but it must not be used as an excuse for Myanmar to pass the blame to ASEAN if the NVC cannot be achieved. So, and then the last one in this particular case is accountability must be made and action taken. I've got 3 minutes. I like that, very soft and gentle. So let us, finally, I would like to say, the conference to me is an important conference. It talks about sustainable solution that we want to have lasting. We do not want they cross and then they need to come back. So in order for it to be sustainable, I don't think there should be verification of who they are or to say that they are Bangladeshi and they must, I think citizenship must be the first issue. They must be given citizenship, they must be given basic rights. At present, the discriminatory policies, they are not allowed to marry non-Muslim. If they want to marry Buddhist, they must be converted to Buddhism. And if they want to bear children, they can only have 2 children. So all these are discriminatory policies, and these are steps that Myanmar can take. Myanmar want to be a credible and respected member of the international community, they must take. And then I think the military must not be given to act with impunity, and this issue must be addressed through international pressure. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have been able to contribute a little bit to your discussion. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a remarkable keynote speak, I must say. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful speech. Just some housekeeping. I wanted to let you know that the full program brochure has been delivered to North-South and will be distributed very shortly, and you will get all the list. Actually, here's a copy. This is the hard copy with all the details of the presentations and the whole entire program, but you also can download from Google Play Store if you put in Rohingya, C-O-N-F, Rohingya Conf, you can get the app that is available for you if you prefer the soft copy, but the hard copy is here and will be distributed very, very briefly. So now, after that remarkable speech, I would like to invite our special guest, Dr. Mohammed Enumur Rahman, MP, State Minister for Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief. Dr. Enam has been playing a vital role in social, political, cultural, and health sector development of the country for a long time. Would you please give him a warm round of applause?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rohingya crisis in Bangladesh, challenges and sustainable solution. Really, Rohingya crisis is a great challenge and problem for the government of Bangladesh. And the only demand of Bangladesh government and peoples of Bangladesh is repatriation of the Rohingya people to Myanmar with honor, safety, security and national rights. Distinguished Chairperson, Professor Atikul Islam, Vice Chancellor, North-South University, Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. S.T. Imam, Political Advisor to our Honorable Prime Minister, Distinguished Keynote Speaker, His Excellency Dr. Tan Sri Datu Seri Syed Hamid Albar, former Minister of Foreign, Home Affairs, Defence and Minister of Justice, Government of Malaysia. Distinguished Special Guest, Mr. Alistair Bolton, Assistant Regional Representative, UNHCR. Mr. Benazir Ahmed, Chairperson, Board of Trustees, North-South University. Respected deans, faculties, distinguished participants from home and abroad, and my dear media personalities, Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. I am indeed very happy to remain present in this international conference on Rohingya crisis. Rohingya issues bears immense significance not only from humanitarian point of view, but also bears equal importance with regards to regional sustainability, regional stability and peace of South and Southeast Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, this crisis that began to unfold since late 1970s on the issues of ethnicity and identity of the Rohingyas in Myanmar did never show any signs of settling down during last 4 decades. As a closed-door neighbor of Myanmar with age-old trade and diplomatic relations, Bangladesh became inevitably entangled with this crisis as it had to receive people from northern Rakhine displaced by internal conflict and military operations through this period. In 2017, Rohingya crisis exceeded the previous records, both in terms of scale and pace, by unprecedented exodus of Rohingyas. The situation became worse from 25th August 2007. On the pretext of Myanmar's internal conflict, within 4 weeks, approximately 425,000 Myanmar nationals, mostly Rakhine Muslims, having lost their homes, properties and near ones fled to Bangladesh to save their lives. Now the total number is more than 1 million. On humanitarian ground, Bangladesh has given temporary accommodation for the Rohingyas. The prudent and timely decision of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has helped to absorb the primary shock of the crisis of humanity, regional peace and stability, as well as her step has provided the space for durable solution of this crisis. hope the stakeholders will understand it and think positively for its solution. Dear participants, initially it was a great challenge to arrange shelter, food and other essential services for the huge number of Rohingya influx. The Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief, along with other concerned ministries, host peoples of Cox's Bazar, United Nations agencies, national and international NGOs and other stakeholders managed the situation so efficiently that even a single person had not died due to lack of food or medication. We have established an effective administrative structure and coordination mechanism among the agencies to manage the humanitarian activities. We allocated 6,500 acres of land where 0.02 million shelters were made in 32 camps for 1 million Rohingyas. We have provided all sorts of basic humanitarian needs, including psychosocial support. Bangladesh is a densely populated country with limited resources. Bangladesh is facing many challenges due to this crisis, such as demographic imbalance is almost double of the local community of that area. The number of Rohingya people is just now more than double in local community. So the hosting community is facing lot of problem. Negative impact on local economy and livelihood, such as price hike, lessening agricultural land. Disaster, as the forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals are living in fragile, sandy, hilly land near to sea and population congestion in a small area. Social disorders, law and order situation, potential extremism, human and drug trafficking, smuggling, etc. Environmental degradation and ecological imbalance, negative effects on terrorism and negative effects on tourism. Wildlife became endangered. We cannot bear this load for long time. On the other hand, in this civilized era, you cannot left anyone behind. You can't ignore anyone's civil right of dignified and secure life. So Myanmar has to take back their citizens. Bangladesh has taken enough preparation to repatriate the Myanmar nationals, but Myanmar has not demonstrated expected positive intention about the repatriation of their own people till today. The delaying attitude of Myanmar about this crucial issue has become the prime obstacle for repatriation. Myanmar must provide the safety and security of the Rohingyas as well as ensure the dignity as citizens for successful repatriation. Distinguished guests, there is only one solution of the crisis, that is the dignified repatriation. Bangladesh expects smooth and quick repatriation of forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals with safety, dignity and sustainability. Our Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has shown the path of durable solution and proposed a 5-point solution for the Rohingya crisis in her speech in the 72nd General Assembly on 21st September 2017. She proposed, number 1, Myanmar must stop the violence and the practice of ethnic cleansing in the Rakhine state unconditionally, immediately and forever. The UN Secretary General should immediately send a fact-finding mission to Myanmar. Number 3, all civilians, irrespective of religion and ethnicity, must be protected in Myanmar. For that, safe zones could be created inside Myanmar under UN supervision. Number 4, ensure sustainable return of all forcibly displaced Rohingyas in Bangladesh to their homes in Myanmar. Number 5, the recommendation of Kofi Annan Commission report must be implemented immediately, unconditionally and in its entirety. In her speech in the 73rd General Assembly in September 2018, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina again made 3 recommendations for solving the Rohingya crisis at its root, including abolition of discriminatory laws, policies and practice of Myanmar against the minority group. According to her second recommendation, Myanmar must create conducive environment by building trust and guaranteeing protection, rights and pathway to citizenship for all Rohingyas. If needed, it should create a safe zone inside the country to protect all civilians. Her third recommendation says atrocious crimes against Rohingyas in Myanmar should be prevented by bringing accountability and justice, particularly in the light of recommendation of the fact-finding mission of the UN Human Rights Council. Distinguished participants, I congratulate the Political Science Department and South Asian Institute of Policy and Governance, UNHCR and other partners for undertaking the initiative and for the promotion of scholarships, debate and academic discourses on very contemporary issues of governance. I hope we will get many insights from this conference for the durable solution of this problem and many other governance issues for our humanitarian administration and management. I sincerely wish the conference a grand success. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech, sir. Another point of information, we are live streaming on YouTube and the Facebook page. All information is also being updated to the website. So I hope you can get everything, all your questions answered and that you have your brochures by now. Now it is my deep honor to invite our chief guest to the podium, His Excellency Mr. H.T. Imam, Advisor to the Honorable Prime Minister for Political Affairs. Mr. Imam played a crucial role during the Liberation War of Bangladesh as the Cabinet Secretary to the Government of Bangladesh during the Liberation War of 1971. Would you kindly welcome him to the podium with a warm round of applause?
Respected Chairperson, Professor Atikul Islam, Vice Chancellor, North-South University, Distinguished Keynote Speaker, Dr. Tan Sri Dato Seri Syed Hamid Al-Bar, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Defense and Minister for Justice, Government of Malaysia. You have just heard him and very eloquently he explained the entire situation and the problem and the solutions. Special guest, Dr. Muhammad Enamur Rahman, MP, Honorable State Minister, Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief, Government of Bangladesh, Mr. Alistair Bolton, Assistant Regional Representative, UNHCR, Mr. Benazir Ahmed, Chairman, Board of Trustees, North-South University, distinguished presenters of papers, participants, guests, faculty members, and my very dear students. Assalamu alaikum and a very good monsoon morning. I congratulate the North-South University Authority, especially the department concerned and the UNHCR for holding this international conference on Rohingya crisis, which deserves close attention of policymakers, development partners and academicians for understanding and seeking solution to the problem. The Rohingya crisis stands as yet another case of forced migration, of arson and intimidation, torture in this region in recent times and reminds us of 1971 when more than 10 million people of Bangladesh were forced to take shelter in India during our war of liberation. But the difference is that all those who went to India came back to Bangladesh, were settled, rehabilitated honorably. And in case of Myanmar, they have been forced out and not being taken back. The present crisis has been sparked by the sudden exodus of Rohingya people from our neighbor Myanmar to Bangladesh in 2017. An estimated number of 700,000 Rohingya people have been sheltered in 12,600 temporary dwellings in 30 camps in Cox's Bazar. Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has earned international symbol of world humanity by temporarily providing shelter to the hundreds of thousands of displaced Myanmar nationals who were victims of systematic ethnic cleansing by the Myanmar military. The government of Bangladesh has responded to the crisis in a most humanitarian way and has not used force to stop influx of the Rohingya. The government of Bangladesh has firmly confirmed her stance to protect and give shelter to the displaced Rohingya people and ensure that return of Rohingyas must be a free and informed choice. The government has been providing various support to all humanitarian activities in various ways. In addition to the government, the non-government development organizations or NGOs are also playing important roles in the Rohingya humanitarian assistance program. The crisis needs to be evaluated not only from humanitarian or from the act of crime against humanity, but also from the historical perspective, how it has taken shape over the years through bilateral, multilateral sources of negotiations, and the way it has drawn attention of the United Nations and big powers. At this point, I believe it is time to revisit our total efforts and policies towards the crisis and take a new look for realistic solutions. I might add here that the keynote speaker here, our dear friend from Malaysia, he has so elaborately explained the background issues and the key to the solutions that I find here in my script that there is hardly anything new. In addition, our Minister of State has also explained the government stance. But let me finish my written script and then I'll go over to the other points that I have in mind. As we all know, the sufferings not only remained confined to forced displacement of the Rohingya people who lived in Rakhine, Myanmar for centuries, but its ramifications are seen in arson, rape and torture of the innocent people. An investigation commissioned by the Human Rights Council observed that the violence was principally committed by the country's security forces, particularly the military, and many violations amounted to the gravest crimes under international law. I must add here that the latest influx is the culmination of a gradually developing problem in Myanmar. Today, we have more than 1.1 million nationals of Myanmar living within our borders. The event's independent investigator, Yang Hui Lee, has called upon China and Russia to oppose the Myanmar government's violations of human rights. The UN body condemned all rights violations in Myanmar and called for an independent investigation into them, including against Rohingya Muslims, to ensure that perpetrators are held accountable. The government, with support from the World Food Programme, is providing food for every household, health and education, water and sanitation services are also being taken care of with the available resources of the government. As we have confronted this huge crisis, which we might call a disaster, our role must be aimed towards the humanitarian issues first. As dialogues between Bangladesh and Myanmar on resolution to a peaceful solution to the Rohingya crisis are ongoing, we are committed to strive for a peaceful and safe return. It is considered as a top agenda of the government and it will continue to carry out fruitful negotiations both bilaterally and multilaterally for a lasting and peaceful solution. I would like to quote our foreign minister here, that is an update. He says in his latest dialogue with the diplomats in Bangladesh, I'm quoting the foreign minister, as you are aware, Bangladesh always sought a durable solution to the protracted problem in a peaceful manner through negotiations with Myanmar, although repatriation through bilateral negotiations had always been a disappointing and strenuous exercise. Oh, it's here. The next paragraph might sound quite pessimistic. It says, and I'm quoting again the foreign minister, Bangladesh has concluded 3 instruments on return with Myanmar about 1.5 years ago and still continues intense bilateral engagement for Rohingya repatriation. But regrettably, the physical repatriation has not yet begun. As per bilateral instruments, the repatriation was scheduled to commence in January 2018 with a target to complete the process in next 2 years, and we have gone nowhere so far. In view of, again the foreign minister says, in view of Myanmar's claim to be prepared to receive the displaced persons, Bangladesh agreed to commence repatriation on 15 November 2018. But none of the displaced persons verified by Myanmar for repatriation agreed to return as they considered the security situation and the environment in Rakhine State not conducive for return. The prospective returnees resisted the effort because of lack of guarantee of their safety on return, assurance of returning to their original villages with freedom of movement and any hope of restoring basic rights. These displaced persons explicitly conveyed their concerns to Myanmar dignitaries who visited the camps in Cox's Bazar in October 2018. But we notice no progress in addressing these concerns. Here again, we will come back later to the points mentioned by our friend from Malaysia, the keynote speaker. I would like briefly to mention, underscore the challenges here, because the theme is the challenges and sustainable solutions. The challenges that Bangladesh is faced with because of the uncalled for, and I say unwarranted crisis thrust on Bangladesh. Here I will go back to, not go back, I will read out from the report of the Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief, whose minister is here. Challenges for Bangladesh. Disaster, as the FDMN are living in fragile. Oh, I find that they have already found out an abbreviation for the forced the residents from Myanmar here, living in fragile sandy hills, land near to sea, population congestion in a small area. 2, demographic imbalance, as the number of total of these Myanmar Rohingyas is almost double of the local community. Negative impact on local economy and livelihood, social disorder, law and order, a big health and medical care, security measures, special care for orphans. All of these are very serious issues. In addition, there is the problem of the possibility of potential extremism, human and drug trafficking, smuggling act, etc. Now coming to these, one of these challenges, the Honorable keynote speaker was asking me about Cox's Bazar being the sanctuary of wildlife. I might relate to you some of my own experiences. When I started my career back in 1961, many of you were not born then, we had our first, immediately after the training in the Civil Service Academy, our training in the field started with settlement training. That's a field training for mapping of government land and private lands also, and it is done in camps. The camp that was selected for us was very near the place you know as Gundum. Gundum is at the northern tip of the Naf river, and there at night we had to have the huge lights and fire around us, and also we had to dig trenches. You know why? Because at night the elephants would come. It was a thick forest, and our camp was right inside the forest of Gundum. Around it, Nakhanchuri was very near there, and that used to be the sanctuary for not only elephants but also other wild animals, and very notably Goyal, you might call them the local bisons. Goyal, they are now, most of them have been tamed by the Murungs, but still there are some found to be found in the forest. And that area, you see, it strikes me so hard that the only sanctuary for wildlife and elephants, we used to have a Kheda operation for catching wild elephants there. All of these have gone. This is only tip of the problem. What the disaster has, the ecological environmental disaster that has been caused by the Rohingya influxes, they have denuded almost all the forests that so carefully and so diligently we had planted over the years, over the last 50 years. All those trees have been felled, they are barren, and now the hills are exposed, and where these are some of the Rohingyas are living on top of the hills and on the foothills. Any shower, huge monsoon rain now would mean landslide. This is a very serious thing. But how many of you are really familiar with the Cox's Bazar area? Cox's Bazar, Teknaf and St. Martin and Nakhanchuri, Bandarban, these are all contiguous areas, and apart from the deep forest there, Cox's Bazar, as you know, is our biggest internal source of income from tourism. And on any holiday, Friday or Saturday, you will find more than 300,000 tourists visiting Cox's Bazar. All that is affected. Cox's Bazar is the largest internal port here for the export of dried fish. Cox's Bazar has the largest number of shrimp hatcheries. All of these have been affected. You see, that has affected our export earnings, that has affected our forests, that has affected our local population. And the seething discontent among the local population that you can feel only when you visit there. I have been visiting Cox's Bazar for many years now. For the almost years, I have been going there almost 2-3 times a year and talking to local people. Every time I go there, the major problem that they talk about is the Rohingyas taking away their sources of livelihood. their employment and occupying their houses, and also there are other problems. With any large-scale influx or outflux of human population, you will see, I have seen it myself, I have experienced it myself and had to face it myself, and that is with this migration in or out, you have human trafficking. When you have human trafficking, you have drugs coming in. And when you have drugs, they are followed by weapons, because to guard their trade, the traffickers have to have guns. And once they start bringing in guns, weapons, ammunition, you see these become again another lucrative trade. So we are exposed to all of these. Mr. Bolton, I will ask you and your organization, are you really aware of these problems, issues? You are not. You are concerned with only the humanitarian issues. Are you considering the security of Bangladesh in the future? Even now? The operations of the Arakan army inside Bangladesh, which the Myanmar army in hot pursuit, they also might come anytime inside Bangladesh. The ARSA, again another terrorist organization. These are issues that the government of Bangladesh and the people of Bangladesh have to face day in and day out. You see, you are concerned with only the humanitarian, the food and the other problems and issues. But please consider these issues and let us help. You see, the UNHCR and the IOM and the other organizations and the NGOs for that matter, some of the NGOs I know from our intelligence reports, they are not doing what they are supposed to do. Do you have any control on them? You see, this has a huge ramification for us, this Rohingya issue. We must solve it immediately. And there I will come to the solution part later. Our keynote speaker, in his address, he has very skillfully and I must say very expertly brought out some of the major issues and also the major key players in the solution of the problem. So far as I am concerned, I am of the opinion that sustainable solutions would only be found in what our Honorable Prime Minister mentioned in her original 2017 address to the United Nations General Assembly, which have been already stated by our Minister of State, Dr. Namur Rahman, and I would like to reiterate them. Bangladesh expects smooth and quick repatriation of forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals with safety, dignity and sustainability. Bangladesh is doing beyond its capacity for these distressed people only on humanitarian ground in her speech in this 72nd UN General Assembly on 21st September 2017, Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina proposed a 5-point solution for the Rohingya crisis. 5-point solutions, I am repeating them. 1. Myanmar must stop the violence and the practice of ethnic cleansing in the Rakhine state unconditionally, immediately and forever. 2. The UN Secretary General should immediately send a fact-finding mission into Myanmar. This has been accomplished not only once, several times. Now we have the UN's representatives visiting this area, but we also have information that only recently 1 or 2 persons have been allowed to go to the affected areas. Others have not been allowed. 3. All civilians, irrespective of religion and ethnicity, must be protected in Myanmar. For that, safe zones could be created inside Myanmar under UN supervision. 4. Ensure sustainable return of all forcibly displaced Rohingyas in Bangladesh to their homes in Myanmar. And last, the recommendations of Kofi Annan Commission report must be implemented immediately, unconditionally, and in its entirety. You see, this is what also the keynote speaker has repeated. He has said the same thing, and I will now add that in my opinion, the only acceptable solution lie in what the Honorable Prime Minister enumerated in that speech that I read out right now. We acknowledge with thanks and gratitude the very solid and unstinted support we received from the international community, the UN agencies, the European community, the United States, Canada, UK, and most recently from India. This is something, this is a positive development. After the recent visit of the Honorable Prime Minister to China, the Chinese stance seems to be changing. Above all, we are most grateful to the OIC countries, to ASEAN, and especially to Malaysia and Indonesia for their very positive and solid role in finding a solution to this problem. In all these countries, if all these countries come together and bring pressure to bear on Myanmar government, I do not see any reason why the Honorable Prime Minister's 5-point plan cannot be implemented. I hope this conference will be a platform to assess the challenges from different perspectives, which will broaden our understanding and knowledge on the Rohingya crisis. I thank the organizers for this initiative. The organizers are, as has been mentioned here, the Policy Planning Institute, and the UNHCR and all others concerned here. I thank the organizers for their initiative for holding this international conference on a very relevant topic of national significance and governance challenge as well. I wish the conference all success, and we will be looking forward to what the outcome of the deliberations are. But as I have already said, the points that have been made by our keynote speaker should be, they deserve a very serious attention, and also what he has said about the dimensions of the problem, what I have said, and I think we are on the same wavelength. When you say ASEAN, OIC, international community, together, all of us can resolve this problem and find sustainable solutions. Thank you very, very much for your patience, and I wish the conference again all success, and thanks to my friend, the Vice Chancellor of the University, North-South University, for inviting me. He personally initiated the problem, the invitation to me, but then I'm happy to be here with you again. Thank you very, very much. Assalamu alaikum. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, Bangladesh, Chirojibi Hope.
Thank you, sir, for a very inspiring speech. So we have come to nearly the end of our inaugural session. I just would like to take note of the time. The first parallel session is starting momentarily, and there is a tea break after this session downstairs, and you'll have an opportunity to see the photography exhibition. But for the sake of time, I'm going to ask the Vice Chancellor, Professor Atikul Islam, to wrap up the session very briefly. He's excellent at that, so sir.
I've been privately told by whispering into my ears that I'm not allowed to speak. I can only thank Honorable H.T. Imam, political advisor to the Prime Minister. I always look at him as an elder brother, a source of wisdom, and I sometimes talk with him when when I have difficulties, even inside the university. Honorable Minister for Disaster Relief, Dr. Inamur Rahman, Alistair Bolton, from UNHCR. He has been a good friend of us for a long time. In fact, without his active support, this program would not have been possible. Our keynote speaker, Tan Sri Datu Syed Hamid Albar. I don't know how to express my gratitude to you. I think we have to invite you very often on, and not only on this issue but also on other issues, because we enjoyed your speech so much. Mr. Binozi Ahmed, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of NSU, Mr. M. Kassim, Member of Board of Trustees, Dr. Sheikh Tawfiq, who is one of the organizers here. I think he's the main one. If anything goes wrong, his head is on the chopper. And of course, Catherine Lee. I should recognize Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Norway here, Honorable Sidsel Bacon, other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. We're probably running out of time. Let me finish by saying two things. One, North-South University believes in bringing the community together. We believe in engaging with the government, with the professions, with industry, and we believe in bringing different views for synthesis, debate, discussion, and synthesis here. And we hope and we try to make input to the government's policies. We want to inform policy decisions on various issues. Our research is not aimed at finding how many angels can dance on the tip of a pin, but we want to solve problems that has impact on people's lives. The Rohingya issue is a significant issue. It's an international crisis. Bangladesh has been suffering for it. It's not Bangladesh's suffering. It's the suffering of those people. An identity has been imposed on them, and they have been systematically, ethnically cleansed. They have been made subject of genocide, and they have been, I would describe it as a Holocaust. A Holocaust doesn't need gas chamber. Genocide doesn't need hundreds of millions of people to get killed. And ethnic cleansing is when you zoom on a group of people because of their ethnicity or their religion or things like that. Here is a crime that's happening and the whole world is almost watching, and some diplomats, not diplomats, some countries are playing a duplicitous role. They will tell one thing to Burma, Myanmar, and another thing to us, and another thing to the international organizations. I hope that for the sake of humanity, for the sake of civilization, the whole world takes this problem seriously and comes up with an honorable solution for these distressed people. I'm very hopeful that over today and tomorrow, in plenary sessions and in policy dialogues, things will come up. Positions will be reached, recommendations will be reached that will inform the policies made by our government, the Myanmar government, and the international community. Thank you all for your contribution and wish the conference a roaring success.
So just another note of information, the students could remain in the room. We'd like to have our participants exit first to be able to have a snack down in the lobby area. So if our conference participants could go downstairs and enjoy a snack and tea, and our students will have snacks for you as well. But if you could let the participants leave first, we can get on with the first parallel session, which is peace building and conflict resolution. So thank you very much for your patience, and we look forward to an excellent 2 days with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are beginning.